Easy, how's your arse?
Seán, I'm in beds. Seán,
what's wrong?
I need a new saddle.
You need a new saddle?
Yeah, I've resorted to sitting on a pillow while I'm cycling now. It's just the hours. I took the week off the cycling last week because I kind of felt we're big advocates of the week before when we went and did our run. I actually felt really good in our run last week. We talked about in the rain and stuff, and I felt really good. So I listened to the body right. I did a lot of training, and I just thought we're starting to get to a point now where I think I've kind of pushed it a little bit. So I took that kind of a deload with a couple of runs, and I left the bike for a while, and I'm back on it this week. And I swear to God, I'm like, oh my God, this is torture. So I am tomorrow morning. I am going to a bike shop and I'm asking about saddles. I'm going to become a connoisseur of saddles over the next few days because I'm sitting.
I don't do a whole lot of cycling. I don't follow a whole lot of cyclists on Instagram. I could barely remember the Irish guy who used to the Tour de France, Seán something. But I have never seen someone do a cycle and look down when I'm driving past them ever. I've never once seen someone sit on a pillow while they're cycling. So you may need to get that saddle checked out.
Yeah, well, I'm also not silly enough to cycle outside on a pillow for that very reason. So I'm still on the turbo trainer inside, but weather's starting to pick up, so I'd say a few outdoor cycles are on the cards soon enough. But yeah, something needs to change. Something needs to change very quickly. So because the longer cycles are kicking in, and it actually just takes away from the cycle. The cycling is actually not the challenge anymore, which is a really, really positive thing. The legs are spinning and I'm feeling good, but my God, that is such a mental factor. It really just, because you're like, oh my God, my bum is so sore, and you look down, only a minute has passed. You're like, oh my God. I rang my mom. I was like, Mom, come out. And she gave me a little cushion off the chair. I was like, oh, thanks. I swear to God, coming through the last 45 minutes. I would have had to get off otherwise. So anyway, new saddles are on the way. Well, anyway, enough about that.
You know what? That could be just about the worst lead into a podcast episode we have ever done in terms of really talking how much you're a pain in the ass. And with that said, guys, we've got a hell of a podcast. We have another one of Eric's friends on the podcast because we have established that I don't bring friends onto the podcast. We'll spin it that way. So today, if you do remember, the very first person we ever had on the podcast twice was Austin Doyle. We are going to bring on his better half on this week's episode of the podcast, Louisa. And this is just, it's a fantastic story. She's got a ton of mantras in this episode of the podcast and great messages. Very positive episode in terms of just mental ability, just what the mind can believe, the mind can achieve, and just her journey into doing double Olympic triathlons, doing a double marathon in 2019, and the crazy stuff she has planned for hopefully 2021 that Ozzy did mention before in the podcast and put on the spot that does. Eric also puts in the podcast and talks about it on the spot as well. So with that said, myself and Eric and his sore ass are going to shut up talking right now. This is the intro to the Any Given Run Day podcast. Enjoy this episode with Louisa. So we've been waiting months to have this next guest on the podcast. I'm sure she'll live up to expectations because we tried to have her a couple of times. It just has not worked out. But finally, she is here on the podcast. And to give a big introduction to her for this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast, Eric, take us away. Who do we have?
Well, this week, Seán, it's another one of my friends. As we've established, you have no friends apart from
Thanks, Eric.
More of an associate, really. So this week we've Louisa Miller. Louisa, how are you?
I'm great, Eric. Absolutely great. How are you?
Good. We are delighted to have you on. Ozzy has put you on the spot many a time and said how great his wonderful wife is, and you need to get it on. But I suppose for anything, we need to ask, how did you get into all your running and swimming? What was your background of it? Where did it all start for you?
It was under 14 GA in Ballylinen. So I did that for... for a wet week, and that lasted a solid wet week, and then it was horses until the Leaving Cert, and then I did very little until I went to a tri-talking event organised by Joanne Murphy and a friend of mine, Kira, who you had on the podcast, was doing her training for Ironman, and she was like, "Oh, they had this on in Galway. You should go along." Because I had started to get interested in it, but I basically started off with doing a fundraiser for Laura Lynn, cycling from Dublin to Kilkenny. So I was like, right, I'll go buy a bike, and that was in 2013 or 2014. And then I was like, well, I've bought a bike and I'm not one for wasting money. So I was like, right, well, what'll I do next with this bike? And I was like, well, sure, a Thai is near home. I'll try a Thai. And like about a week before, I swam 750 meters front crawl in the pool for the first time ever. And I was like, I'm so ready for this.
Oh.
And yeah, that was brilliant. And yeah, I've had an interest since. I didn't do much then for a couple of years. And then actually the Tri-Talking event came a couple of years after that. And then Jerry Duffy was a speaker, and he put up a picture of himself when he was 27, and he was like a good bit overweight and smoking 20 a day. And I was 27, and I was like, well, here, if this guy can come from that to this, I'm 27, it's not too late. And then how I got started as well, another angle of it is that my cousin, like my second cousin, who like that. I have so many cousins. I've never met these people I'm about to speak about really. But Alison Miller is my second cousin. She plays for the Ireland Sevens rugby team. And then Annalise Murphy, who's an Olympic medalist, is my third cousin. And I was like, maybe I'm genetically dispositioned to be all right at something, maybe. And I'm not, but God loves a trier, you know. So, and like I literally am super slow at everything, but I love it, and just really enjoy it.
It's amazing as well, because a lot of people, and particularly in women as well, they don't have that confidence, particularly if they haven't been doing it in a younger age. Like you said, you half tried for a week, it was into the horses, but at 27 to kind of go, all right, I'm going to try this sport I know nothing about, which for a lot of people is terrifying. It is, like, especially a triathlon kind of sport with the swim, the cycle, stuff that's somewhat daunting when you haven't done it all your life. How did you find it making the first step? I know you're quite confident, but did you have to overcome any doubt, or how was it?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. You're like, yeah, women and confidence, and you're like, yeah, no, men don't have that issue as much.
No, I did. I don't like to do it. I had big fears going to do it. But it is known that it is more known that they're a little bit more afraid to do it than some of the guys.
Yeah, I think it's like there's definite statistics around like the drop off in sport when girls kind of turn 13, they get their periods, and it's like just becomes a thing or whatever. But for me personally, I've different mantras in life or whatever, and like I'm kind of, one of them is like, you'll regret the things you don't do as opposed to things you do, and like that, I kind of don't want to turn around and have any regrets if like I die tomorrow or whatever. And like, you do want to see what you're made of. You want to see your potential. You want to see progress. You want to have like, it's goal orientation, and kind of some people have focused their goals one direction. This is kind of an area that occupies my free time, and so it's around setting goals and achieving them. And like that, for different people, it's different things. But no, there was not like, it was kind of a thing of like, I'm not racing anyone else. Like, I'm only racing myself. I'm only racing my times. I'm not like I can be competitive with myself, or like, but I get a great buzz off friends as well. So like when I have friends like, say, Kira, you've had her podcast, and Danny, and stuff like that, like you just are like, when those people are in your life and they're trying new things, and you're just like, yeah, give it a go. Like, what's the worst that can happen? I could get injured. That it's, yeah, and like that, I just love being outdoors. So I grew up on a farm, so that background of being outside is actually probably a fundamental part to it. And then like I learned to swim in the sea when I was like 4 or 5, and did swimming in school, so that attachment to the sea kind of is probably there from a young age. But yeah, there are lots of different factors, I guess. But yeah, it was just to see if I could, like that. Why did you climb Everest? Because it was there. Like that's,
It is a phenomenal attitude to have. I have to say, it's something I didn't have, and I don't think Seán would have had. Maybe not. Maybe speak for Seán. I didn't have that. I'm just racing myself fear. No matter what I did when I tried any sport growing up, I was always a little bit more afraid of, oh, so and so is much better than me, and I'm really slow. I don't want to go running with Tom Dixon because I'll slow him down. And even Austin Doyle, you know, like I'll only be hindering them on the run. And sometimes I still have that kind of feeling, but that feeling of it's only now I'm getting more confident to say I actually don't care what anyone else does today. I'm just out doing my own thing. It's a phenomenal attitude to have, and to acquire it straight off the bat is something phenomenal. It's great. It is brilliant, and it's a good thing for people to think onto. But when we go back to that year, I was taking on my first triathlon in that humble town of Athy. And I could barely swim. And I know you were more attracted to the sea, but the trolleys in that river now weren't ones that really appealed to me. But you were going for something special on that occasion. So you went from your first triathlon, but what was it you were trying to do that year?
The first year or the second time?
The second time.
Yeah, so I had like that. I'd learned a lot the year before because I just signed up for races. I was like, oh, I'll do that race, and had no like shape or form or any knowledge. And I still have very little around kind of goal races and setting goals and it like working towards specific things as opposed to, well, sure, it's a day out and it's probably a t-shirt and a medal and sure be a bit of crack and like that has its place. And it's a fantastic way to learn as well. And there's a great buzz, and then you obviously don't need to buy any more t-shirts ever again. But no, that year my goal was the double Olympic, and I'd only done one Olympic, and I'd done a decent amount of sprints, I guess, in the previous 2 years. And I had done a couple of half marathons, and because the run was always kind of my concern, but Athy is so flat, and it's geographically close to where I am, so I knew I could train on the course. So to me, I had never any doubt that I'd do it, because I was like, they're all very achievable, and once I do the training, there shouldn't be any reason except a mechanical one on the bike maybe, or if I fall off the bike or whatever. I was like, you can stand up in the barrel, like there's no reason to not like get out of the water. And when I had the training done, I was like, I knew I could do it because I had done most of it already, just at slightly separated. But it was, and then I had the focus. I knew I had came off kind of a decent like base the year before, and then 1st of January kind of started, and that was my 6 months of a lead in that I was like cycled every Sunday pretty much. I'd say I missed 1 or 2 Sundays in a 6-month period on the bike, and then it was just such a comfortable race, and it was such a great experience to like that. I'd set myself a goal. I knew I could do it because I had done the cycle distance, I'd done the swim distance, and I'd done the run distance. And it was just a case of marrying the three together. And like that, it wasn't unachievable. It was like, and I had like these songs that I referred to, and then like the morning of was absolutely like a glorious morning, like glorious. And the song came on, I was like driving to the race, like crying, going, today's the day. But I was like, I have done the hard work. Like the hard work is done. Race day is just is kind of the finish line basically, because you've done the hard work. You've shown, like I was showing up day in, day out, and like I was knackered and I was slow, and like I was cycling with the group on the Sundays with the tri club, and like I was gasping pretty much all the time. Like I was hurting every single Sunday because I was with people who were fitter than I was. But like that, at the same time, I'm like, it's fine, I can do this. Or I was like, guys, you just go on, please leave me alone. Yeah. But it was great. Like it was great crack, and like, but I think that was it. Like it was good crack. And it was a good focus, and I knew it was time limited, so it was for me it was achievable at the time.
And talk us through the distances again for those who don't know.
So 3,000 meter swim in the River Barrow, then an 80k bike, and then a 20k run. So but it's all really, really flat, and like that you can stand up in the river, and like it's very
You're saying that
you're downplaying that big time, Louisa.
I'm really downplaying this big time, because regardless of you can stand up in the river, you had to swim against the river for half of it. So you're swimming against the current for half of the swim, and then you swim with the current then for the second half. Then you have to put yourself onto a bike for 80 kilometers. Flat or not, it's still a long time on a bike after such a long swim, and then a half marathon pretty much to finish your day before you get about the rest of the night.
It's a lot for a good t-shirt.
You get a bottle and a medal and a race band as well.
Well, you never mentioned the bottle the first time. In that case, it's well worth it.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
Yeah, but it was more the commitment of it. I was like, can I commit to something like this? And that was the hard part. But yeah, it was a lovely, like, it was kind of it wasn't too windy. There was a bit of a drizzle, but it was just really nice. It's a really lovely day.
In all your training, what did you find was the best thing for you to be successful in your training? Was it any kind of training program you followed, or did you just kind of listen to the body as you went along, or what kind of plan did you follow to take on such an event like that?
So I just followed there was like a tri club. The tri club sent an email every Sunday, and I knew in terms of load, the only thing I really had to change was from that plan was, and to make more specific, was the half marathon training plan. So I basically got onto the coach and said, look, this is what I'm doing. I think the swimming and the cycling I can follow from the club wide plan, but I know myself I'll have to focus in on the running. Then I just did a couple of the swim sessions. I did a couple of extra swims during the week to kind of, because it was more the distance and slow and steady. But it was mostly the club. But running being my like weakest of the three, I would think it was important for me to focus on that, because like that I couldn't show up on a week run at the end of an 80k cycle. But what I made sure after every long cycle on a Sunday was I got off the bike and went for a run every Sunday for 6 months, even if it was 500 meters. And that's what it started off as, was like 500 meters. And then like just, even if it wasn't in the program, it was just to have the feel of it, to know I could get off the bike and run. And then the fact that I knew the course in it high, it was like, no, it's flat. I'll have support on it. And I'll be tired for the last 10k. It was the last 5k I was tired. And then it was kind of just a case of, then it's like, another one of my mantras that I kind of go to often is the body achieve what the mind believes. That it's much more, it's a mental game really at that stage. Yeah. I'm like, no, there's no reason physiologically why I can't do it.
Yeah.
So
telling lies to yourself is definitely one. It is good, and particularly I'm looking for the one in Galway now as well, and we're quite in the opposite. I know I'll be fine once I get on the bike and the run. It's the swim at the start that has me in the fear. It's
which you doing, Loch Ultra, is it? Or
yeah, that's the plan. Yeah,
very good.
So, and again, it's less of a swim, and I use you and Oz a lot, and I used you that time. We swam together a couple of times, not many.
Yeah,
we used to slow you down with our timings, me and Tom, but we
when you showed up on time.
Yeah. But
I'll meet you in the pool at 8, lads.
The idea that you've completed it, like that, you as you said, like you can do it once you're slow and steady. Don't worry about everyone else. Like you covered that 3k in the water of something you only really picked up, and I use that as a kind of a guide to me that you can do it. People have done it. It's sometimes when you see someone achieve it, you're like, okay, it's not as scary as everyone says it is. It's but a marathon was scary for me until I saw someone I knew who did it. That local relativity kind of makes it like, it can be done if you just relax. And there was some tips that you gave me that you picked up along the way in terms of the swimming, where it was like, because I'm very bad, I kind of panic in the start of the swim, so I don't really breathe for the first 100, 200 meters. And you were like, just get used to
it.
Bubbles. Breathe, bubbles, and it actually works. So my ears to be sore after a swim because just like bubbles,
yeah.
But it is little tips like that, and as you said, the people you get to know, and especially when you're going into uncharted waters, it can be quite scary. But the support network is great, and I believe that was with Naas Triathlon Club you were doing that with, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like the club at the time was brilliant. It was just like I met a few people who were kind of at a similar level, and like that, it was just good to tic-tac off of them for ideas. And then it was 4 of us were signed up for that race, so it was good to have like touch base with them as well, and just to know you're kind of like, no, where are we at, everyone doing okay, but at the same time you're like, you couldn't really be looking at anyone else because everyone else had different strengths. Like say I wasn't the strongest in any three of the disciplines relative to the other crowd. But at the same time, I was like, no, but I'm all right. I'll get through them myself. And that's all I need to focus on. I don't need to focus on what anyone else is doing. But like that, you can take you can get the buzz off other people without it being competitive. And like that, it was, and visualization is really important as well. Like, how important that is, that you visualize yourself getting out of the water. I remember the music was playing when I got out of the water and getting onto my bike, and it was a song on. I couldn't tell you what it was now, but if I played it on the radio, I'd be like, oh, that was the song they played. And I was like taking my wetsuit off going, I have a third of this done. Yes. Like delighted with life. But it's, I got the buzz off the other people, but also the training program. And then also like that advice, because there was a good crowd doing Ironman Barcelona that year, and it was a case of you also did have to listen to yourself in terms of fatigue, and if there was ever a session where you're like, actually it's going to be better if I don't do this one. Now that would only happen a few times, but like that, remember one night I went out for a run about 500 meters. I was like, I'm actually too tired to do this, so it's not going to be helpful, and I just turned around and walked home. And like that, it was, and that was because one of the lads had said, don't try catch up on a session. It's gone. Just accept it. It's gone. Move on and get on with it. Like,
great advice.
That it's like, you can't, you're not going to do 100% of the plan, but you have to maybe pick and choose when you argue with yourself about getting off the couch and going out the door. And that was, I think, probably, it was the kind of stuff that I think I really learned from doing that race in particular.
It is a big thing as well, and I think a lot of people kind of suffer with that. I missed a 5k on Monday, and I have a 5k to do on Wednesday. I have 10k to. I missed a Wednesday now. I have 15 to get, and the anxiety that builds from missing training session. If people don't just accept things happen, move on. You're not going to lose your goal or your base fitness by missing that one run. In fact, most times if people are sticking to a plan that's that long, you're probably giving yourself a day of recovery you didn't even know you needed. So it's, try and see it as a day to, like, did I eat well that day? Did I poison my body that day? Or, it was, a lot of people, when it goes in, maybe you'll agree as well, Louisa, if you miss a training session, but if your diet was good and your rest was good and you were drinking plenty of water, that's really a training session in itself, that you make sure your body has most of the stuff it needs. Most of the rest. And how did you find balancing that with work and training and swimming? What did your week look like?
Well, it helped that Austin was the other side of the world, because I didn't have to factor him into my timetable. And then
Austin's holding you back.
I knew he was.
I was like, that's ideal. My last 3 months of build up, you won't be here. And then it was really nice because he was scheduled to fly back in that morning. So, and I was like that. I was preparing myself for him not arriving on time and being there like the next day or something. But then he did actually land halfway through the run, which was nice, after not seeing him for a few months. But the week was busy. Like, I ended up, like, I did a few runs to work, and I was like, when did I become this person? Like, I'm running to work. And then I was like, well, it's done. And then it's not like that. There's some runs you just don't want to do, and they're hanging over you, and it's like, just get up and do it if you have the energy. But diet is going at kind of my kryptonite in terms of, say, for the marathon, and actually for a tie as well. Like, I just still have a lot of work to do from that regard, and I fairly decided early on in the marathon training plan that I was only able to do 3 runs a week, whereas if I'd improve my nutrition, hydration stuff, I probably could have managed the 4, but at that stage 3 was what I was capable of, and it was off, like, that 6 months led into another 4 months of training. So it's not like I was starting from scratch. I was like, okay, I need to maintain some fitness but also be able to run longer.
And you've led us into the next thing. So the run was your kryptonite, you say. So you got out you crossed the line, you got your t-shirt, your medal, your bottle, and you're like, I need to get more free stuff. What has the best free stuff? Dublin Marathon.
You need a hat to go with it.
What drove it? Was it that whole, I am going to prove to myself I can run, that, it's not going to hold me back? Or, as being the weakest of the 3 disciplines, what drove you to go for that marathon?
Another one of my mantras: if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. And like that, I love swimming and I love cycling. I'm not particularly fast or good or whatever, but I enjoy them. Whereas running, I was like, don't love running still don't love running. What could I possibly do to challenge myself? And like that, it was, do you know what, actually the reason I did the marathon was because Ian McCormick and Austin signed up for it, or were signing up for it. And I was like, I'm going to have too much FOMO for this. They'll be all doing the marathon and I'll be like, oh, I should have done it with them. And like that, it was going to be easier to do it when there was a few of us training. So it was a case of, I'm going to challenge myself, but also FOMO. And I just as well I did, because there hasn't been a marathon since, basically. That was 2019. And it was like that. It was such a great day. Like the conditions were perfect. And it was like that great sense of achievement. And then you're like 10 minutes later, it's like, okay, so what's the next thing? But you're at the same time, you're like, okay, I did this on 3 runs a week. What could I do with tweaking the diet, tweaking hydration?
Now, obviously you had a great base going into that, but what were your 3 runs a week? What kind of miles were you covering in the early days? Or what, you know, for people who are listening that think, I can't do a marathon, what is 3 runs a week to give you that build in? June, wasn't it? So June to October. Yeah.
The thing is, it's not like, I didn't just decide I was doing a marathon. Like I had done a good few 5Ks. I'd done a good few 10Ks. And at that point, I'd probably done half a dozen half marathons. So it wasn't like, I don't know, like some people can obviously just get up and like, right, I'm going to do a marathon, not really knowing what's involved.
Me and Seán.
I wouldn't know anyone would do something like that now.
But like, you had a base in other fitness, at least, where like I just felt like for me it had to be and marathon was never in my sights. It just became a progressively more achievable, I guess. And then the 3 runs a week were basically if I can remember the program, there was obviously a long run at the weekend. Like my longest run was 28k, and that was the plan. The plan was 28k would be my longest with the coach from the club. And then there was 2 runs. There was 3 other runs, but I was like, look, I'm not putting the mustard here on the tempo. I'm just about getting through these. But there was at least 2 or 3k in any of the 10 to 12k runs that were out of my comfort zone speed wise. So that was kind of pushing the heart rate like that. I didn't really need a whole lot of help pushing the heart rate, because it was pretty much always zone 5. It's like, and when I know now, I'm like, oh my God, like I must have been so fatigued, like on a continuous basis. But at the same time, you live and learn, and sure, you know, you learn through your mistakes, and like that, the more you learn, the more you realize you haven't bog's notion anyway. Right, who do I need to ask about this, and how do I be less ignorant? But yeah, that it's all very achievable if you want to do it and you prioritize it.
Yeah, it's absolutely was brilliant, and that marathon was a great day for all of us. You completed. Yeah. Ozzy got his best, I got my best, Seán got his best. Just as you said, the day was absolutely amazing. And there is satisfaction in knowing you put in the work, and it's something we kind of tipped on, isn't there? Everyone goes, well, how did you do it? The most of the work is done in the 4 months beforehand. Yeah. And
that's enlightening. That's enlightening, Eric. Where did you get that piece of knowledge? That is
that's a new mantra for you now, isn't it?
New mantra for you there, yeah. So I think it was your wise husband that said that in the podcast once. But
he's very wise.
But so we've left that. We've come through a pandemic. You've gotten married. Things have changed. What's next in the world of Louisa?
Yeah, well, so we had a baby. So I had a baby. I physically.
Ozzy watched it.
Huh?
Ozzy watched.
Yeah. He was like, "Wow, well, that's endurance." Yeah, I know. Well, yeah. So obviously things are different, but I remember talking to a fella in work, being like, "Yeah, I'm just actually a bit worried about how much things are going to change, because we are both have our goals that we want to achieve, and we're both." Logistically, you have to tic-tac around that. And then I was like, how are we going to do this with a baby? And then just one of the lads in work is like, you tend to just keep doing what you've been doing. like, it's not like people start to take up these things afterwards. They're generally doing it, and you just find a way to make it work. So at the moment we're learning how to make it work, but we're both achieving our goals and both kind of complementing our training in terms of saying we have to plan our week. There's just no way you could just be like, oh, well, I want to do my run. It does take some of the thinking out of it though, because it's like, I have 2 minutes to leave the house, or this is not happening today. And so, like, say I came back, started back on the bike 6 weeks after he was born, just turbo, and I think did 6 weeks of that, and that was really helpful to then lead into an 11-week running program with the Garmin coach from the watch, the all infamous watches that are very helpful.
One of our main sponsors. They give us millions every year, don't they, Seán?
Yeah, 100%. Louisa, were you doing any training after the Dublin Marathon and during the pandemic and during the pregnancy, or was that kind of like it's time to take the foot off the pedal a little bit and get back on from there?
Yeah, so after the marathon, I think, so that was like, there was 4 weekends in a row. One was the marathon, one was Run the Line, which is fundraiser for Dublin Wicklow Mountain Rescue. A good friend of mine, Louisa, is involved with that. Then there was my hen party, and then there was Sea to Summit in Mayo that myself and a few of the lads have done, and Austin and a few of the lads had done. But this one was, I was like, well, I've done the marathon training. I'm making the most of this. And then I was like, basically the end of those 4 weekends, I was like, I'm just gonna like, we were getting married like 2 months later, so we had to do a few bits of organizing for that, and then we went on honeymoon, and then we got back straight into lockdown and straight into pregnancy. And I did start off training, like I was doing a bit of cycling and a bit of running, but I fell over physically, like fell twice running, and I was like, not worth it. I'm going to take a break. But like that, I was doing loads of walking, kept quite active. Like when the pools were open, I was swimming, and like, but it was mostly walking. Like walking during lunchtime and work with the girls, and then when the pools were open, like I was like, I can't wait to tell this baby, like the day it was due, and I think it was like the week they closed and haven't reopened since, that it was like I swam, sprint, distance, swim the day you were due. Like I just can't wait to tell him that. To be like, if he's anyway fit at all, I'd be like, I'm taking credit for it. Yeah.
I gave you those good genes, but keep training throughout the whole thing. That is phenomenal.
Or if he's lazy, you're going to turn around. Do you know when I was even carrying?
Yeah. In my day.
You were holding me back in that swim.
But like that, it was just as pity, because I was hoping that swimming would have been a consistency during the pregnancy, but it just wasn't an option. So like, went sea swimming a few times, but like, sure, November, December, you're not going to the sea. You're not, the place is locked down. You're not going anywhere. But no, it's been great. And like that, it was, I think there's some research done. I think that like women have the capacity to improve, obviously, after giving birth, but I think it's that their pain, like their ability to endure, is actually shifted in some way. So like, since he was born, I've gotten a 5K PB, which was just brilliant. Like I was like so chuffed to be, and focused as well, like to be able to go through that, be feeding a child, rearing a child, and then but also not to lose that part of myself as well, because I think that can be a real transitional period in people's lives when they become parents, and that for both male and female, that it's just like, well, where am I going to find the time? And it's like, well, if like, we're very lucky that we both support each other a lot and understand the importance of it, that it's kind of a no-brainer that we make it work.
So you gave birth to a child and then got a 5K PB, and I feel bad about running in the rain in Phoenix Park this morning.
It's gas. The two lads were doing they did like a trial Olympic distance triathlon yesterday, so we went up to support, and I was like, this is great. Like, it's almost like we're at a race. Like, I didn't care that I wasn't doing anything. Like, I got into the sea and did a little tiny swim, but it was just a great buzz to support them. But then today I was like, I'm just going to cycle 40k and see how it fares out. And like that, it's just, it just kind of gives you a little nudge. Sometimes you're like, I can't wait for a race. Oh my God. Like, and it's not a race against anyone else. I've only done one Olympic. So I'm racing that time. That's all I'm racing.
And it is the buzz, it is the excitement and the camaraderie and the starting line camaraderie. We saw each other at the start lines of a couple of races, and
yeah, we have.
It's the beauty to just go, this is great, best of luck, gun goes, and we all go and we'll just see it. And it is phenomenal to think that could be a possibility again. And I suppose we might as well ask, we love throwing out a few things here. We're coming close to 20 weeks to go to the Dublin Marathon. Do you think it's going to go ahead? And if it does, I won't say it out loud, but
I'd say there's a chance it could go ahead. Like the vaccinations are happening. It hasn't been cancelled. I think there's still hope. I don't know. We'd have to chat amongst ourselves, because like that, with a goal like that, any of the bigger commitments, we kind of have to agree it as a team, because we are completely relying on the other person to pick up the slack. So it's not like we have to kind of make those decisions, and like that, it's like, what races do you want to do this year? Cool.
Well,
so I don't know yet. I'm still very much at base training, and like I've linked in with there's women's health physios to do some work post birth and stuff. So I've done that, and I'm happy with the progress. She's happy with the progress, and it was really important for me to do that, because I don't want to start off and then be like, actually my pelvic floor is in a kink, and now I have to start from scratch again. So that was really important for me to get right from the very start. So it's not necessarily the distance is going to be my prerogative for the next while. It's going to be, maybe I could improve my speed and like that, because it's shorter, sharper. It's not something my PB now is like 26 minutes. And I was like, for a lot of people, that's like a slow 5K. But I'm like, well, I'm fucking chuffed with myself. So I don't care what your 5K PB is, but I have a new one. So good luck. And then so we'll see. I wouldn't say it's on the cards this year. I'd love to do a half marathon. And I have a time goal for that, but I don't know when.
It might be the good trade-off for you to complete the half and him to do the big, or vice versa. But I'd love to see you do the big one, because that means I have a chance to beat him now and rub it in his face for all of his 12 months until he beats it again. So,
as in you'd beat Austin's time?
Hopefully this time around.
The competitiveness is coming out.
Competitive, like I said.
I love that hope, Eric. It's real cute. Ah, God.
That was a condescending virtual tap in the head there. I love that little hope that you think you have a chance.
No, that's not that. No, I just think, they're both great.
Yeah. For context, for people who don't know, the last marathon in 2019, Eric and Ozzy were running together, and they were on track for a 3:25.
3:20, yeah, they're thereabouts.
And I think it was 33k in, coming up towards a big hill, where Eric had to have a little talk to himself, realize if he's going to finish, he has to say, Ozzy, goodbye. And on Ozzy went, and Eric had to slow down for a minute, get his stretches going, and back at it again. But there was a good, I would say 12, 13 minutes. And the distance you have to make up now, is there?
Yeah,
Ozzy was 3:23.
I think it'd be well labelled.
It was good, but not only that, the fun element, and we come back to it again, the camaraderie of it. When it was a couple of weeks out, Ozzy was like, "Actually, we're running together." I was like, I really don't want to run with you. I really don't want to talk to anyone. I don't do anything. And he was like, "Oh, it's a great crack." I was like, I honestly don't want to look at you. I don't want to talk to you. But for that 30 kilometers, it actually was brilliant, because we both seen the side. Oh, look at this! It was. We were just on a tour of Dublin, and only for the hammies just gave up towards the end. It was actually was so enjoyable. We were crazy. Yeah. It was really, really good. It was good, and like that, when you find someone who's thereabouts on the level which you've trained with, and it's a very enjoyable experience, and hopefully something that we're be it a new normal, but we're getting back towards that, and it's gives people something to train towards, be it the free t-shirt, the medal, or just a day out that's not an up and down your road that you've ran solid for the last 18 months. But it is phenomenal. So Louisa,
The other thing is though is I suppose, and it's going to be so, is that Austin's going to have Con to look at, and I also have Con to look at. It's so funny. I remember I was at a race and there was one of the lads was coming out with his transition and his daughter was like, "Go, Daddy, go!" And I was like, I can't wait. Like, that'll be lovely. Like, but also, you're all of a sudden you have this tiny human that you really want to impress, and you're like, even though you're like, he might have no interest in sport, that's grand, whatever. Like, do what makes you happy. But at the same time, he's like, what he's seeing straight off the bat is that we're working as a team, that we're like trying to support each other as much as we physically can to achieve what our goals are. And like that, it's mostly a logistical issue as opposed to anything else. But like, we also do want to make this tiny little person proud. And like, I did my 5K a week earlier than the plan suggested because I was like, oh, well, he's 5 months old on that day. So like, it'd be great if I got a 5K PB when he was 5 months old. And then like, you know, Austin's there waiting with him at the window when I came in, and like, I was just like, well, I was about to chunder everywhere, but like, I was like, yay. But like that, and what we want him to learn is like, you know, if you put your mind to something and you put the work in, you know, you can achieve what you put your mind to. And that's, and that, like, that would be like, because I suppose you've had so many people on this that are really impressive and have achieved really amazing things. And like, I just kind of am like, well, I set my goals and I work towards them, I can achieve them. And whatever your goal is, if you want to achieve it, like, it's just to put the head down and to do it, and do your best. And you're only racing yourself.
Yeah, and it is brilliant. And regardless of the people we've had, they've done phenomenal things. But anyone who sets themselves a goal and goes out and does it is phenomenal. It is great. The consistency and the willpower alone is the most impressive thing of it all. And anyone who gets on seems to have the common trait, and you definitely have it. And it is inspiring. It is great to see how you keep it going, even with the uncertainty and schedules and stuff. And it is, for anyone out there who's thinking, how am I going to do it? They've probably picked up a little bit of advice from you there today, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's amazing to see how you're managing even moving forward. And what would be your next plans? Ozzy kind of ratted you out there saying you were cycling the full length of the country, no pressure, no pressure.
You kind of double ran out right there, Eric.
as he always says, pressure is for tires. I know. No, one of the girls from the club is doing it with her sister, and I was like, oh my God, this would be class. Like, can I come, basically? So I have her plan, and we bought a camper van, which is the best thing ever, because it just allows us to just move, have tea, he can play in it, do whatever. And oh my God, baby, what was the question?
What's the next plan?
What's the next plan?
Cycling.
You got sidetracked by
the cycle,
the cycle down around the country.
Yeah, so you can see where my head's at. No, I am hoping to do it, but at the same time, it's going to come down to how much Austin and Con can tolerate the van during the day, because we're working on naps and feeds, and I'm still feeding him and stuff. So it's like, the plan is to start it and see how it goes. And Austin would just drive on, and if Con needs a feed, he'll have about 5 minutes notice that he can try meet me there, and I'll feed him and go on or whatever. But like that, we could be in the van 3 days and the child might be absolutely miserable, and we're like, right, we'll pause it here, we'll come back in a few months or next summer and come back. Like, it's like, I did the Camino a few years ago, and it's a pure leisure thing. Like, it's like, it's a lovely way to see the country. It's a lovely way to slow down. If we do get to do it, it'll be a case of start early, I'll finish early, and then Austin would go on and do whatever training he wants to do for the evening. And like that, we just basically tag in, tag out during the day, as Con needs. And like that, it's kind of like, and like that, I think that's, the 5K was perfect. The goal was perfect because it was small chunks. This is obviously a step forward, but and then I'm hopefully going to do a sprint then in September. That's the one I had signed up for an Olympic, but that's been cancelled, and I don't think I was going to get the open water time anyway that I need So I was kind of going to probably pull the plug on that anyway. But yeah, if I could cycle one link to the end of the country to the other, I'd love that. Like,
it's more than most people in this country have done anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah. The other thing is, I was like, well, I bought this bike now. I'm going to get my money's worth.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, look, we might check back into you towards the end of the summer and see how the sprint is going and see how training is going, and we'll definitely check in. We can hear him mooching in the background there, so we're not going to keep you on this too much longer. 100%. But we might check in towards the end of the summer, see how the cycle went, and see how you're getting on with the training. We hopefully might be talking about half marathons and marathons at that point. But Louisa, thanks so much for being on this week's episode of the podcast. Welcome. It's been absolutely inspirational to hear all that you're doing and how you're working as part of the team. It's refreshing to hear. I actually
forgot to mention. Sorry, just thinking about it there. One of my other cousins, who's absolutely amazing. She did endurance horse riding for a long time, but she's doing a lot of hill and cross country running now, and she did like a 12-hour movement challenge. She set herself there last week. And she just walked and ran for 12 hours. And like that, we had the van and we went out and met her. And it was just like, go on, Emily. Like, and like God. That, you're just like,
jeez.
You're just like, this is class. Like, you're going out supporting people. And it's just like happy days. You don't like, it's just good crack. Good crack.
It is good. And it is great. And that positivity definitely passes on to others. Seeing someone achieving something like that and the struggles they go through. And it really does. It's like that. Everyone who stands at the finish line of a marathon is like, "Oh, I might do a marathon. This looks great." You know, it definitely does it. But the feeling that the other person is having is probably not the same until about 20 minutes afterwards. But yeah, it's brilliant. It's been great, and hopefully we do see you doing some great things. We might get you out doing a 12-hour next year.
I mean, sure. I'm on 24-hour shifts these days, Eric. So don't mind 12 hours.
I'd rather sit in the camper van myself. Louisa, thank you very much for being on this week's episode of the Any Given Day podcast. That's it from Louisa, myself, and Eric. Guys, take care.
Bye.